Here at Game Changing Dads, we know how tough it can be to stay motivated to be a good husband and a good father. That's why each week we bring you honest, real discussions about how to lead, love, and live. If you're looking for ways to take charge of your leadership role at home, visit GameChangingDad.com to find helpful tips on how to stay focused on your number one priority as you maneuver through the demands of your career.
Welcome to Game Changing Dads. This is your host, Razor Ray Matz. Hope you're all having a great day today. At Game Changing Dads, we are here to encourage husbands and fathers to lead, love, and live. Today, we have a special guest, Mr. Jason Cain. He was part of our very first mastermind group over a year ago. Jason, aka the Determinator, is also a rock star husband, father. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ray. It's awesome to be here tonight.
This guy, well, let's start out this. I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So, Jason, can you give us a story of where you and I met?
Absolutely. It was a little over a year ago. I was determined that I was not going to go to the beach that particular afternoon, and something told me, it's time to just load up and head that way, and we did. And sure enough, we pulled right up next to an SUV a little bit bigger than ours and jumped out, and next to us was a family of 5 just like ours at the time. And I was like, hey, how are you all doing? And the husband's over there doing fishing, and I didn't even talk to him for probably 30 minutes. I was like, man, I guess I should go talk to that guy. I was like, I don't want to be rude. So I went over there and we talked for, I don't know what, an hour and a half. It was like 30 minutes past dark, and our wives were like, let's go. It's time to go home, fellas.
And yes, I wanted to start out the show like that. Sometimes there's people that are going to pop into your life. You have no clue if you don't extend your hand out. You don't have that welcome hello, that great smile. Like Jason just said, we were on the beach just kind of hanging out. All of a sudden, a year and a half later, part of our mastermind group, fantastic guy. I mean, we served together at church. I mean, just the families get together now. It's just awesome. And I love that, because I think a lot of us avoid people. I mean, whether we're on the beach or just, out for a walk. So I'm a big fan of saying hello. And at that time, Jason was also a big fan of saying hello. And like you just said, man, we went on for literally an hour until the wives are like, man, time to shut it down.
That's right.
Just incredible. Well, Jason, give us a snapshot, just starting from your childhood and where you are today, next 5 or 7 minutes.
Absolutely. So I started off my journey in Kentucky, just south of Louisville. I went to elementary school there, and when I was 11 years old, I moved to Florida. And that was quite a transition for me. It was kind of a difficult time for a lot of kids to transition. I was going from elementary to middle school, bit of an awkward age. So that was not that was a bit of a rough spell for me. And I really didn't allow myself to get past that, honestly, until I graduated and went back to Kentucky to go to school there. And I met my wonderful, amazing wife in Southern Indiana, planted myself there for about 15 years. And then we relocated yet again to the state of Florida, where we met the Matz, and here we are today.
Awesome. Getting back to your cool, AKA the Determinator. Can you give us an idea where that name came from?
Absolutely. So a few years ago, it occurred to me that where I went in life was literally a matter of what I determined I was going to do or be, or where I was going to go. Whether it's a conscious decision or subconscious decision, I firmly believe that we each land where we decide we're going to land. And I say that with that big caveat that a lot of folks, it's not a conscious decision for a lot of folks. A lot of people just think that's, where they are is just the way it is by, their set of circumstances or the way they were raised or, the influences they've been exposed to over time. And there's a lot of truth to that, but ultimately, I'm firmly convinced that if you are determined and just in where you want to go and where you want to be, and you can do it, then you'll get there, and there's really nothing that can stop you.
Absolutely. And at the time Jason and I met, I was right in the middle of getting Game Changing Dad started. I was also very determined. I didn't really have a clear focus on what that looked like at the time. And I remember Jason sharing his website, and I remember looking at his website, and he's just, some crazy, out of control, very motivated stuff. I mean, this guy's like, I don't even know how you did some of the video footage, but it was awesome. And I said to myself that day, I'm like, man, he's got something going on. And so let's get into, before I go too far into that, let's get into, why did you choose a mastermind? At that time, I know, we had a friendship going for probably 6 to 8 months, and I decided I was going to do the personal coaching and get into the mastermind groups. Invited you in. Why a mastermind group?
Well, I remember it very vividly. About a year or so ago, like I said, after we'd known each other for a few months, you had introduced the idea of a mastermind, and I didn't, at that time, I didn't even know what it was, because I remember you text me and I said, what is that? And you told me a little bit about it, and I was like, well, that sounds really cool, because I think up until that point, I'd been kind of just pinging you for different ideas and your thoughts on things, because one of the reasons I felt like we talked as long as we did was I come from a background where I've been 100% more or less pure workforce person my whole life, go to school, get a job, stay in a job, career guy. Got to talking to you, same family situation, same family dynamics, but 100% entrepreneur. And I'm like, wow, this is somebody who's never done this, like never gone down this road. Like, how did you do that? How does someone get to that point? And so I was very intrigued, and, and I, wanted to know more. So when you said, hey, let's get a group of guys together and, effectively coach each other through these things that we each have going on, it's like, wow, that's genius. I think of it as like when you have a company and you have the CEO, well, ultimately he's going to make the decisions for the company, but he has a board that he consults. He's got people around him that advise him, and everybody brings that unique perspective, because he's not going to think of everything. So people are going to say, hey, you might want to think about this, and hey, you might want to think about that. Ultimately, it's his job to say, okay, I've considered everyone's advice, and this is the direction I'm going. And to me, that's kind of how mastermind is. It's like, I'm the CEO of my life, but I need advisors around me to say, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And that's extremely helpful.
Awesome. And I totally agree. And getting back to, I know Jim Rohn, Robert Kiyosaki talks about this a lot, where, you are the 5 people you hang around with, whether that's financially, whether that's attitude. And if you can find a group of folks, and I'm also a big fan of, everyone has their special story. Everyone has different input, like Jason was just talking about, to help us through. Jason may be going through a situation where I might have been through that same situation 10 years ago, and us feeding that fire and just figuring out that game and what that looks like, all of a sudden, input from a bunch of men from all over the place. I mean, we can excel so much quicker than staying in our own home and not having any of that input. I've been there and done that for years. I mean, if you look at my past as an entrepreneur, my first 10, 15 years, I did it all myself until I started reading books and learning from other people, or finding someone that, like, hey, I want to listen to Dan Miller because he's got the fruit on the tree. I mean, it took me almost 30 years to figure that game out. And that's exactly what a mastermind group does. It gets a bunch of motivated guys together just to share, okay, where do we want to go? How do we get there? And who do we need to bring in to get us there quicker? And we all have great stories and different stories. We're all unique in certain ways, which is awesome. Well, let me ask you this, Jason. So regarding the mastermind and where you're at today, how did game-changing masterminds help you in your current situation and what you're trying to figure out?
Well, I'll tell you, one thing that I like about our dynamic, just the two of us, for example, I'm very much a think, plan, act guy. That's how my brain operates. That's how I formulate my intentional living mindset, is to think about where I want to go, make a plan, and take action. But I can tend to kind of get stuck sometimes in that think, plan phase and kind of go back and rethink it, and then plan for maybe a little bit too long. And on some things, especially new things I've never done before, I can be slow to act. When we met and you talked about was it ready, shoot, aim, or shoot, ready, aim? And I was like, wow, that's a different concept for me. That's a new way of thinking. So one of the biggest things you did for me was tell me in one of our mastermind calls this week, pull the trigger, get out there, put yourself out there, advertise, coaching services available now. And I did that. And I offered 4 free services, and I received 4 referrals on Facebook that I gave 4 free coaching services to. So in the areas that I tend to say, well, I think I was going to do this, but now I'm thinking about it a little more. And I think maybe in 3 months I'll do this. And then, 2.5 months into that plan, I think, I've really been thinking about it. And the more I think about it, maybe I want to make the plan this. So let me take another 60 days. And in reality, that just comes down to, you're just finding a reason not to. Because it's new, it's different. So the mastermind was a source of motivation to move, to take action, to move out of my planning stage and turn into action and take action. And I did that, and it was great. So in addition to everything else, I mean, you become a part of a community of guys that are all growing in their own areas, that they're looking for motivation and encouragement themselves. And to be a part of that, to be able to pitch in where I can, where my perspective is unique, and where I can share things that people say, yeah, I never thought about like that before. That's great. That's really what it's all about for me. I mean, that's, whether my, brand takes off, or if it never really gets outside of this house, that I'm okay with that, because I want to influence my audience, however small or large that is, in a positive way. And I want to offer my unique insight and perspective to anybody that it can benefit. So the mastermind gave me an opportunity to help a few folks out in that situation, I believe. And it gave me the accountability I needed to press on.
Awesome. Very, very well said. And you hit the nail on the head. Accountability and action. 2 of the things that game-changing masterminds that we literally every meeting we throw on the table. Because life without action, and you've heard this story before, Jason, I don't want to be the guy waking up at 90 years old, looking back saying, why did I not take more action? Whether it be your family, whether it be your wife, whether it be relationships, just being a better man, period. I do not want to be that guy. I've met too many, I've interviewed lots, and it's sad. It's really, really sad. So yeah, action and accountability. I mean, that is the way to rock your life, and to be a determinator, man. Love it. Love the nickname, bud. All right, so let's do this. We are going to get into kind of a rapid fire. All right, and it's funny. I'm looking at Jason, and he actually helped us with one of our first spreadsheets where he is the goaltender. And there's actually a little. Do you want to talk about the goaltender? Do you want to?
Well, yeah. So and that's kind of I like to have fun with whatever I'm doing. All right, like I mean, I'm motivated and I get excited, and I take my goals and, you know, my direction I'm going, especially with my family, take those things very seriously. But I laugh the whole ride there, and I like to have fun with it. And I don't like to be, you know, boring and monotonous and just, you know, rigid, I would say. I try to avoid that at all costs. So I was thinking about, you know, when I was thinking about my coaching niche, I was thinking, you know, I really want to help folks set goals, but not just set them, but, you know, achieve goals. And I thought, you know, how do you could plan a goal, you can kind of set one out there and let it be. But if you don't kind of, you know, tend to it, kind of like you tend to, you know, you take care of your garden or your, you know, whatever it is you're trying to develop, a project you have. If you just kind of throw an idea out on the table and then walk away from it and come back in a week, it's not going to take care of itself. You gotta tend to it. So it's really funny because I was never even thinking about the hockey analogy with, you know, that that was so obvious. But I like puns, and I like things that make you think a little differently. So I actually was thinking of basketball, where goaltending is a bad thing. But I was thinking, you know, in the coaching world, in the goal setting world, goaltending is actually a very good thing. So so that just kind of popped into my head. Same kind of thing like with the Determinator. I mean, you know, when I was trying to come up with my how was I going to promote, you know, what I was doing or what I was offering on Facebook, I thought about the Terminator and his famous line, "Come to me if you want to live." And I just added, "If you want to live intentionally," and thought, that sounds like something a determinator would say. So, you know, it's just whatever it is. I just like to have fun with it. So, you know, we were going to set some goals. So our first little goal tracker was a goaltending spreadsheet. And we tend to set goals and we tend to achieve them.
And I totally agree. If we are not having fun doing something, I have 3 young kids. Jason has a bunch of young ones over there. We can't even keep count anymore. But here's the deal. You have young kids. I mean, you got to have a blast, man. You got to be in the sand. You got to be throwing stuff. It's just, you got to have a blast. And I know I made a decision years ago, whatever I'm going to get into, you got to have a good time. You got to enjoy yourself, because here's the deal, man. Life goes way quick. It is all of a sudden, boom, it's out of there. 10 years, boom, it's out of there. I mean, I woke up and I'm 50 about a couple months ago, and all of a sudden I'm like, I remember I was 25. Like, where did that X amount of years go? But yeah, let's get back to the goaltending, which I totally love that phrase. Like Jason said, it's a kind of a basketball term. I totally thought it was super cool because it was a hockey term, but that's okay. We'll leave that be. But getting into our rapid fire. So rapid fire, I picture, you know, me standing at the blue line with a whole bunch of pucks, and then we have the goaltender in net. So not me trying to score, but Jason will actually protect those goals. And then he'll just, like he said, the garden man, cultivate, pulling out the weeds, make sure it gets water, make sure it gets fertilized, because you need to be growing, you need to be moving, you need to be taking action, which we absolutely love. All right, here we go. Rapid fire. Favorite book?
Favorite book? Oh, man, that is a tough question. I'll tell you what. I read a book called Take the Stairs by Rory Vaden a few years ago. It was a game changer.
Awesome. Take the Stairs. Love it. All right. Favorite husband moment?
Man, there's so many of them with 12 years of marriage. But I tell you, 2 years ago for our 10-year anniversary, it was an awesome feeling to finally take my wife swimming with dolphins that I told her we would do on our 5-year anniversary. And it took us another 5 years, but we did it. And it was a super cool honeymoon part 2.
Awesome. Love it. How about favorite dad moment?
Oh man, that's another tough one. I tell you, I don't know that there's anything that really overcomes the birth of a child. And I have had 4 now, but the change that happened within me in that first moment of my firstborn coming into the world it was incredible. I went from being this rugged military guy that really cried anything to I'll cry at a bubblegum commercial now, literally. And so, just those first moments when you first meet that new child is just, I don't think there's anything like that in the world.
Absolutely. Agree 100%, because here's the deal. We only have 3, and I'm thinking after the first, I mean, literally hockey player, got my teeth knocked out. You think I would be kind of tough enough to take this, but for what our wives go through in the birthing process, oh man, my wife looks over at me 2 minutes in, or I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess Jay's was 2 minutes out. Bad analogy there, but I was bawling, man. I was done. She's like, I need to talk to you. I'm like, I can't talk. I'm sorry. Every kid, man, same deal. And after the third, she's like, I mean, she's just ready to leave at, 5 minutes after our third was born. And I was like, I can't talk, man. I'm just bawling 5, 10, just unbelievable. I mean, just kind of God's blessing. Absolutely love the birth of our children. And for the wives that go through that, man, that is just that's such a level I don't even want to think about.
I think that's part of the reason we cry, is because we're so grateful that we're not going through that agony. We're like, hey, this is great. We got this new child. I didn't feel any pain. This is amazing.
Absolutely, and amen to that. Yes, totally tracking with you. Well, let's do this. Can you give us one piece of game-changing advice with our audience? Anything, just maybe to help someone get out of a rut. Maybe they're looking to switch gears. Maybe it's maybe they lost their job. Maybe they're looking into a business. But just some kind of motivating piece of advice you can give to our audience out there.
I think the biggest change that someone in a rut needs to make is their mindset. When I changed direction myself about 4 years ago, it was literally, it was just a shift in the way I thought. I listened to some Zig Ziglar on a podcast one day, just going through my normal routine, and I came across him. And when I heard him say things that weren't necessarily that profound on the surface, but when they penetrated my mindset and created that dynamic of realizing that, hey, I can do a lot more than what I'm doing. I'm totally capable. And not only am I capable, but, as a person of faith, I mean, I feel like I'm obligated. I feel like I was created for a specific purpose, a specific place, at a specific time to do it, a specific thing. And if I'm not doing it, that's a problem. So the biggest thing that changed, the only thing that really changed, was my mindset. I went from thinking certain things were not possible to what isn't possible. And it's all a matter of what you're determined to do or be, or where you're determined you're going to go.
Absolutely. And think about this. It's really, we have so many avenues for information. I mean, we have podcasts, we have books, we have the internet. And it really comes to, what are you feeding yourself daily? I mean, whatever's going in is going to come out, positive or negative. And we have options out there, and some of us are stuck in a rut. And I love to ask, why are you stuck in that rut? Because there's reasons there. What you're listening to, who your friends are, who you're hanging around with. And sometimes it's just that frustration of, man, it's time to get moving. I want to be a game changer. I need action. I need accountability. Once, like Jason said, you get that mindset of it's go time. I mean, make the decision, find the people, read the books, tap into the podcast. Now, what also goes with that is you're going to have a small group that's literally going to criticize you for going the opposite way they are. I've had it in business. I've had it in real estate. Every time I did something a little bit different than my friends, I don't care what it was. They're like, man, dude, you're crazy. You're starting what kind of business? Oh, you're getting into real estate in another state? You're going to have your own podcast? You will get criticized. But I'm telling you, the more criticism you'll get, the more successful you will be. Bottom line, find the right people, Find guys like the Determinator. I absolutely love this guy. Ever since I met him on the beach, I mean, every time we connect, the guy just gets me fired up so I can keep running after my dreams for myself and my family. So Jason, got a couple minutes here. Tell us where we can find you.
Well, you can find me online at www.icanliveintentional.com. You can find me on Twitter at Live Out My Intent. You can follow me on there. And
awesome. Well, I appreciate that, Jason. Hey, it's been a great maybe 20, 25 minutes. Greatly appreciate you being on the show, being a part of our community, and absolutely just being a great friend, man. It has been awesome to have you. So we are going to sign off, Game Changing Dads.